9:15. I'm excited about our speaker, David Heine, today. He's going to be popping in a minute. Let's start with shouts from the summit. Make sure you hit record, Marielle. Who's got some good news to share? Good news to share.
I can go, Russ.
Please.
So I don't know if this got mentioned last week because I joined a little bit late, but Savannah Campbell came up and did QL with six of our high schoolers, and it was an amazing day, and I think they got so much out of it. So
I
huge shout
love
out to
that.
her.
That's awesome. Savannah Campbell is Savannah, I'm going to botch this. Are you our QL ambassador for the Colorado region?
I am. Yeah.
Yes. We are very appreciative of everything you do for us. I'm having a hard time hearing today, so give me just a second to look at my controls. What's going on here? I guess my sound is up. Can you all hear me okay? Okay, good. All right, other good news. Great job, Savannah.
I've got some, Russ. Our market center's been profitable in January, and February's looking good for the first time in a really long time. So good job,
Yes,
agents, for closing deals in the middle of the winter.
no kidding. In fact, I think we had the best January we've ever had in Vail, and I want to shout out to Marielle. Marielle, our MCA, took on the Vail Market Center with Sarah's departure mid-January. And she's already closed the books for Vail, which is she was third in the region out of 20 market centers to close on Vail. And this morning she'll close the books for Summit, and we'll be able to celebrate being profitable in both market centers. So great job, Marielle, with your new responsibilities, getting it all done. Any other good news? Other good news to share? I'll share that Laura Lynn in Vail and Sarah Springer closed what was it, Ryan? $4.3 million property on Friday? I think.
Yeah, yeah, 4-2.
4-2. Amazing. Great job, Laura Lynn and Sarah. All right, let's move on. So we've got some announcements that I want to share. And let me just get my screen to work. Tomorrow and Thursday, we've got the Leverage Series in Denver with Wendy Papazan. If you're interested, there is still seats available. Scott Thompson leads an MREA, Millionaire Real Estate Agent Book Club and Mastermind on Fridays on Zoom, and that starts at noon. Top of the Rockies team meeting is next week. That's the in-person team meeting, which follows this meeting, and that's at the Frisco office, 10 to 11. Same thing for Mountain Properties, 10 to 11 in the Edwards office. Every Tuesday, productivity coaching with Katie. She does that live from the Frisco office, but also on Zoom, so everyone can participate. This week, she's not going to be in the Frisco office because she's got a sick child at home, but she will be on Zoom later today. Every Wednesday, contracts with Rod, 1 to 3. That's in person in the Edwards office. And every Thursday, accountability group, and that's in the Frisco office. All are welcome to that as well. A couple save the dates. We've got awards for Top of the Rockies at the Beaver Run Imperial Ballroom. That's March 4th. That's a Wednesday, I believe, 10:30 to 12:30. And your RSVP is due by the 18th of this month. You have been sent a couple evites on that. If you can't find that evite, email Marielle, KLRW1076 @kw.com. Awards for Mountain Properties is at Harvest at Sun and Elk Golf Club. That's on Thursday, 10:30 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. Both of these events are brunches and awards and celebration. RSVP for Vail is due by February 19th. You can email Marielle at klrw889 @kw.com for that. We've also got regional awards that week at the Ritz-Carlton Denver. That's 9 to 11 on Friday. And the shift workshop with James Shaw in Denver at the Legacy Campus on the south end of town. We are doing a dinner for all of our family reunion attendees, and this is going to be at Morton's Steakhouse in Atlanta, Sunday, February 22, 6 p.m. If you're on the roster that you're going to family reunion, you've been given um, you've been sent an invite, and we're waiting on a couple of you to respond whether you're coming or not. You can just email me at my email address shown on the screen to send us your RSVP for that. Funny joke in the chat, Chance. Hey, on this Tuesday session, we've got a really great lineup coming up, and I just want to keep you aware of it. Jeff Abel's going to be talking next Tuesday from our own in-house Jeff Abel. John Prescott is going to be talking about Price It Right and Get the Price Reductions. We are going to have no session during family reunion. And then in March, we've got Holly Prescott, who's going to be leading us in how to increase how to build your presentation skills so that you've got more effective listing presentations. Chris Lindquist from MAPS is going to be doing a session on the 10th over AI. And Scott Schumann, who is from the Sue Adler team, the Sue Adler team in New Jersey, Short Hills, New Jersey. They do hundreds of closings a year. He's going to be talking about seller seminars and how to get more listings through the seller seminar strategy. And that's on March 17th. So those are upcoming sessions. We hope you join us for all of those. I want to share a few things about the market. And this is just some general things that I've been seeing about the nationwide market, not specifically focused on Colorado, but everything I'm going to share here is relevant to what we deal with. I think this map of the US really does a great job of showing a divided country. I mean, this is price growth. This is change over change in Q3 of 2025. And remember, these stats often lag a little bit. We've got states like Illinois, which saw 6.9% increases in prices over the last year. And we've got states like Florida at a negative 2.3. You'll note that Colorado is negative 1.2. That is the second most challenging market in terms of home price appreciation. And oh, by the way, the national average is 2.3. When you look at county by county by county in the areas that we serve, it's a mixed bag. I mean, Vail saw prices go up. Summit County saw prices go down. There's a big differential between the single family residence market and the condo market. Generally speaking, condos were hit much more last year than single family residences. But all in all, this is showing that there's been some challenges in our market, and we do feel that. Inventory has been building gradually. It's been rebuilding gradually. The white line, I think you can see my cursor, the white line shows active monthly listings across the country in thousands for 2025. You can see in green 2024. In other words, throughout 2025, inventory was higher than in 2024, and blue line 2023, and I don't know what color that is, maybe orange, 2022 and 2021. And you have to go back to 2019, 18, and 17 to see inventory levels higher than what we saw last year. What's 2026 going to look like? Well, Realtor.com says that we expect a housing market that's steadier, but not yet off to the races. You know, affordability is the real challenge right now, and affordability is created by what's happening with interest rates, what's happening with prices, and what's happening with wages. To start looking at interest rates, generally speaking, there's consensus that we're going to expect a modest decline in mortgage rates. By the way, I'm going to share all these slides with you. We're expecting a modest decline. You can see on here, starting in Q1 of 24, Q2, Q3, Q4, moving into 2025. What do we expect? Well, it depends who you ask, but generally speaking, everyone thinks we're going to stay in the low sixes, maybe the high fives, and that's the anticipation. And what that means for us is whereas 2025 interest rates averaged 6.6, in 2026, we expect them to average right around 6%. That means rates are getting better. While this puts the average 30-year fixed rate mortgage on par with the last few months of 2025, it will mark a drop, as I just said, from 6.6 on average throughout 2025 as a whole. Redfin says that U.S. homebuyers will start to get some relief in 26, while affordability improving as income growth outpaces home price growth. So, what are we going to see in home price growth? Well, the average is on the left of your screen in blue. And you can see where NAR thinks things are going to be for 2026. NAR is always over optimistic. The MBA is always pessimistic, and everybody else always falls right in between. But if we go with the average, we should see a modest increase to home prices. So a modest decrease in rates, a modest increase in home prices. Nationally, home prices will probably rise modestly in 26, but the numbers are likely to be very different from state to state, as we saw with the first slide. Realtor.com says, even though home prices are expected to go up, affordability is set to improve modestly in 2026. Rising incomes, which should outpace inflation, give buyers more purchasing power. This is good news, helping to shrink the share of a paycheck that has to be put toward the mortgage. The monthly payment to buy the typical home is expected to slip to 29% of median income, the first year below 30% affordability threshold since 2022. This chart, in green, you see the increase of home prices, and in blue, you see the increase in wages. So you can see that in 2018, affordability from this perspective stayed the same because wages went up at the same level as home prices. But 2019, 2020, and 2021, home prices went up astronomically while wages went up modestly. Last year, the opposite happened. Wages increased more than home prices, which helped affordability, and the forecast is for the same to happen this year. Wage increases at about 4%, home prices around 1%. Chief economist for Daniel Hale from Realtor.com says, after a challenging period for buyers, sellers, and renters, 2026 should offer a welcome, if modest, step towards a healthier housing market. Incomes climbing faster than inflation as mortgage rates steady at a lower level create space for affordability to improve. What are we thinking? What's going to happen with inventory? Well, we expect it to rise this year. Bright MLS is optimistic at 10.9%. Compass's analyst is at 10%. Realtor.com is at 8.9%. Average about 10%. Inventory will continue to increase, says Rick Sharga, though at least partly due to the pace of sales slowing down and some older homeowners deciding it's time to downsize. I want to share a couple more things about strategy. Expired listings. Many think expired listings may be one of the biggest opportunities for 2026. The typical seller journey from expired to sold takes just over 3 months, where the listing expires an average of 36 days between expiration and relist, and then a 75-day DOM before the house is sold. Check out these interesting stats. You're more likely to sell your home when you relist with a different agent. Sellers who relisted with a different agent sold their home 54% of the time, where sellers who relisted with the same agent just 36% of the time. Folks, this is a slide that you should put on your cell phone and use it in your next expired listing appointment. Because sometimes the sellers want to take the easy route and just stay with the same agent. And your job is to get them to relist with you. And that increases their likelihood of selling by 18%, which is pretty phenomenal. Sellers who switch agents sell faster once they're on the market. When they relist with a new agent, they get it sold in 74 days. When they relist their with the same agent, they sell in 89 days if they sell at all. Pricing, skip that one. Over half of expired sellers haven't relisted yet. Will they choose to work with you? About 2.4 million listings expired in 2025. And listen to this, 1.3 million of them haven't yet relisted. It's $529 billion of untapped potential sales volume. Delisting as a share of inventory has hit a decade high. When we say delisting, we mean a home that removed itself from the market before selling, and that accounted for 5.5% of the market in Q3 of 2025, and that is the largest percentage by quarter since before 2016. It is an opportunity. Nearly half of delistings were purchased within the last 5 years. So this slide is to show you that when you're looking at working the expired market in a TCPA compliant way, you must look back because sometimes people listed 3 or 4 years ago, they're still thinking about selling and they're still ripe to have a conversation with you. So go back in time when you're calling expireds in a TCPA compliant way. Just a few stats, and I'm going to be sharing these via email after today's meeting. I want to recognize a few cappers. Tony Giacconi capped in January. Congrats, Tony, from Summit. And from Vail, 3 cappers, Adam, Daniela, and Will, all capped in January. Great job, Adam, Daniela, and Will. All right, so David Heine is going to walk in here. I think he's going to join me here. David is an experienced agent who is out of the Denver Highlands office, and David's been working with Monica Rivera for how long, David? For 5 years. And they sell between 20 and 40 houses a year. Last year was a little bit of a dip due to some family challenges. But I wanted David to talk to us because I can't stop seeing him on social media. Like every time I open up Facebook or Instagram, he's doing something with social media. David, why don't you introduce yourself and share a little bit about your journey into real estate and a little bit about what's working for you all right now.
Cool. Thanks for having me, Russ. Hello, everybody. And yep, I'm down here in Denver and started 5 years ago in real estate. Came from a construction background. First time kind of working for myself. I joined a team with Melody there 5 years ago, right when I started. So that was my first experience here with real estate. And I wasn't very active on social media before that. And then I realized that was probably the best way for me to stay in front of my people. And so I've developed pretty much a consistent schedule on using it for a tool in order to stay top of mind. And I'm really seeing that start to come around now. Maybe it's the shift in the general consensus of the market or whatever that may be. But I'm getting a lot more of the phone calls that are, hey, I've been watching you. And I think the theme today is that if you think that nobody's watching, they probably are. And oftentimes it's people that you didn't even consider, maybe people that you may have transacted with a couple of years ago, that just kind of fell off the radar, that you haven't really making the active effort to go back out and reconnect with. But this is a really good way to sort of passively do that for me. And it just opens up a lot more conversation. I've had a lot more appointments this year. About 4 of my agency agreements so far this year have come from just people that have seen me over time that haven't made that move over the last couple of years, that sort of fell off, that, I call them as much as I can, as much as my bandwidth allows me to, and then it reaches a point where I assume that I'm never gonna hear from them again. But with the social media aspect, it allows me to just sort of put something out there passively to sort of spread a wide net. And I encourage everybody to utilize it. I know there's a lot of struggle with what do I put out there? You know, what's going to connect with people? And I think that that's not really an answer that I can give you. It just comes from whatever you want to generate so that you can create that organic engagement with the people that you're going to actually want to attract.
So, David, I think a lot of people think, if I start going all in on social media, it's going to generate tons of strangers that are going to call me.
Sure.
I saw you for the first time on social media. Now I want to buy a house with you.
Yeah.
That's not been your experience, correct?
No, no.
So who is responding to you and who is seeing you, generally speaking?
It's past clients and then people that are in their sphere. So the people that I've already worked with, they've got people in their life that they're connected with on social media. And that social media is kind of that bridge between my people that I know and then the people that they know. So it's almost like a passive ask for a referral by just putting myself in front of them. Also, a lot of what I do is just sort of what I'm doing throughout the day. It's not necessarily like, here's a house that you can come by, but I'm going to do this thing. I'm going to do this inspection. Here's kind of how I look at it. And I'm just sort of giving like a timeline of what I'm doing throughout the day. And so people sort of feel like they're keeping up with me. I've done a lot more stories lately, which I found really good response from. And I think it's just one of those things that allows you to sort of live your life. And if you can catalog it, it allows people to sort of keep up with you and see what you're doing. And then you just sort of organically attract back those people that you actually have similar interests with and ultimately want to work with at the end of the day.
Right. So what it sounds like you're doing is you're using social media as part of a 36 touch program, really.
Yep.
Like these people that are seeing you, I assume they're getting emails from you and texts and invites and phone calls as well, but this is just another layer.
Yeah, and ultimately, I think my response rate ends up being quite a bit better through the social media than, for instance, doing like an event invite. It's one thing to invite somebody to an event and it's got a little bit of detail what's going on, but then they see it and they go, "Oh wow, okay, this was actually something that I probably would have joined. So let me see what he's up to next week or whatever that looks like."
So when we look around the real, and I didn't ask you this question before, I'm about to ask it, so I don't know what your answer is going to be, but when we look at realtors on social media, the typical thing we see is just sold a house, just listed a house, just sold another house, just helped a family. And it's a lot of like, please recognize that I'm still in real estate stuff. Are you doing that kind of stuff?
Not really. I mean, occasionally it'll be like a soft plug, like,
Yeah.
"Hey, I'm over at this listing that I'm going to be working on here next week, but here's why I really like this property. Here's why it speaks to me," or whatever that looks like. And
Yeah. Like
go ahead.
like my allergist, I was just talking to Marielle about her allergy problems, and my allergist does not do a post every time he gives me my shots, right? Like we don't like that's really not very interesting.
Totally.
Yeah, to the public. So tell me what parts of it, like if you've got a new sexy listing, what are you doing?
I mean, I do some of the basics, right? I'm going to walk through it and show a little bit about why I like it. It's more of the amenities surrounding the property, not necessarily the property itself.
Like what?
So the instance like Sloan's Lake, I have one coming up over on 20th Avenue. We're going to be doing a kind of like a showcase video, but it's going to be me walking around the lake. It's going to be me going to a nearby coffee shop. It's a little bit less about the house itself because once it's listed, people can go on Zillow and see what the house looks like, but they don't.
99 pictures and 3 videos.
Exactly, but they don't necessarily get a feel for what the surrounding looks like, especially we're a huge transitory state. So for people that are coming from out of state or maybe coming down from the mountains, they don't have a lot of experience in Denver. They might not know what these pockets like Sloan's Lake look like.
Right.
And so that's a little bit more of it. And then in that, you sort of translate kind of like a lifestyle, right?
Mhm.
You're telling people, okay, I'm not just this real estate robot. I actually go out and like integrate into the community. I go do these things. I go walk around the lake. I go get coffee with people. And it goes back to that old saying that nobody cares what you know until they know that you care.
Right.
And if the only thing you care about is transacting real estate, you'll get clients through that, but I don't think you'll build necessarily the referral base where people sort of follow along on your journey because they just know your next post is going to be some house that you're selling, right?
Right. So you're highlighting the lifestyle that comes along with the listings that you have. You are doing some walkthroughs of the houses as well.
Totally. Yeah.
and you're featuring businesses that are in the area around those properties.
Mhm.
You mentioned like maybe you might have an inspection and you might do some detailing about what that looks like. Like explain that process.
Sure. I think one of the big shifts that I've made coming from construction, I try to hold my tongue for the most part, but I definitely have my input as far as, my opinions on things. And I try to go a little bit more into the negatives as to why you shouldn't buy a house, not necessarily obviously there's positives as to why somebody might want to get into a property, but I always point out the things that are going to be a deal breaker. And the reason I do that is that I don't want to take somebody down that road, get to a point where it's like, okay, this small thing that I could have brought up even at the first showing
Mhm.
is now going to blow up this deal.
Yeah.
Now the clients are invested. They're going to be, down in their spirits because this home that they thought they loved. Whereas you can set some realistic expectations right up front. And that's just, at the inspection, and it comes to being in the area too. Maybe somebody doesn't
Yep.
want to have they don't want to be near a lake where there's like a bunch of
Right.
people walking by their house. And so I try to lean into that a little bit more too, and talk a little bit about just kind of the nitty gritty of what we do, because
Mhm.
we make it look easy. And so
Sure.
a lot of people go get the real estate license and then they get into it and realize, okay, there's a lot of moving pieces. How do I convey that as a way that, this is what I'm actually doing for you?
Yeah.
And so I tend to lean into those things a little bit more and just try to stomp it out right at the beginning, just to save everybody a little time, a little bit of energy, a little bit of effort, that kind of thing.
What besides like the lifestyle of a listing or around a listing, particulars on like, increasing your knowledge about the inspection process or process around buying a home or selling a home, what are other things that you're seeing working on social media? What's getting eyes and clicks?
Honestly, just like having fun with it. I
Mhm.
think one of my last videos did pretty decent, got like 1,500 views, which I consider pretty good because
I think all of us would like 1,500 people
watching
watching us.
Yeah,
for sure.
and a lot of those are people that I know. It's a lot of my followers. And so I did a walkthrough, and it was pretty common. It was like a $1.2 million house down by University, just remodeled by one of my friends. So I got to do a shout out for him. And then I was walking around the house, but the most comments that I got was when I said, maybe I can negotiate this fuzzy thing on the table for you.
Right.
And everyone's like, why didn't I get a fuzzy thing when you helped me buy a house?
Right.
I was like, well, when's your birthday? So I'm sending her a fuzzy thing for her birthday. It's just, it's little things like that bring that personality back, because we're in a people business. And
So people are commenting on the videos,
yeah,
and then you're responding to the comments and taking action. Is that?
always respond. It's another conversation, right?
Yeah.
It's no different than them picking up the phone and texting you, or picking up the phone and calling you, or sending you a letter. You want to have that two-way communication. So regardless what they're talking about, respond and just kind of respond in a way that you would if you were there in person with them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I see you eating pizza on Facebook a lot. Like,
Yeah.
what's up with that?
So I went on a kick to start doing a little bit more local highlights. When I first started with Melody, we actually did some local business support. So we did Leroy's Bagels, and we did things like Twisted Smoothie and another one called Elevate.
Mhm.
And I didn't really push it much on social media. We would go there, and it would be an event where people could come and get like kind of like a free sample of what the business is all about.
Mhm.
So I'm expanding that a little bit into the social space and just getting a little bit more out there, showing people what I like to do around where I live. And it just kind of goes back to that whole experiential,
Yeah.
vibe.
Do you get a lot of play on that?
I do, yeah. Probably one of the last ones I did was Pizza Alley, and it closed for a while. It was a big staple in our area here, and it's New York style. And then they closed down, and everyone was all bummed about it. Then they opened back up. I was there like the next day or two after they opened back up. Did the video about them coming back. Did a little review on the pizza. I mean, Denver's a pretty big food town. I think people kind of sleep on that a little bit. And so I love food. So I lean into that, and everyone knows that. So I'm always going out to lunch and dinner with clients and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then they see that and they're like, oh, can we go there?
Sure.
Like, yeah, absolutely.
Are you, since you're doing a lot of video, are you using special equipment for this, or is it just your cell phone?
Cell phone, mic, audio is kind of a big thing. So just cell phone and a mic, nothing crazy. If I do like a home walkthrough, I'll use a gimbal just to make sure it's nice and steady and clean looking, but nothing intense. It's all simple. I think it connects a little better with people when it's not this huge production, where you got a camera crew following you around and they're like, I was just hoping that we'd have lunch.
So, and I assume, is there editing being done as well? Like,
Very little.
Yeah.
My walkthrough videos, I'll do some, but for the most part, it's just kind of raw and it's clipped. I'm trying to keep it quick and simple for people to be able to consume. But other than that, it's nothing flashy, nothing
Yeah.
crazy, just really raw and organic.
What do you use for the simple edits?
CapCut.
CapCut.
Hmm.
So you load all the videos in and you can place them and it does the transitions and all that.
Yep. And then I try to put some sort of applicable music behind it if I do music. Like
Yeah.
when I'm doing stories, I was out in the mountains this last weekend showing property in Evergreen. So I picked a kind of like a folksy mountain song, and it was,
Yeah.
it was just kind of cool like that.
Right. What else? What else should I be asking you about your social media strategies?
I think a lot of, I mean, we get it all the time. I'm teaching a class where a lot of people want to do social media and they're like, well, what do I post? How do I get comfortable in front of the camera? That's like the number one
Yeah.
question that we get. How do I get comfortable in front of the camera? And I mean, as cliche as it is to say, you just kind of act like it's the person. Like you pick one person in your mind and you say, okay, I'm going to talk to this person. And this is the person.
Right.
And they're not going to respond to you. So you're essentially monologuing. But sometimes it helps to have somebody behind. Like I took my wife to do a walkthrough video at a home and talking to her. So that might be probably a good gap. Pick somebody that you're kind of friends with, that you can have just fun conversation with, that you can be yourself around, and then just totally forget the camera's there. Talk like you're talking to them, and it's going to come across totally organic.
So until you become comfortable just going at it, you might bring a person with you and you're thinking about, this is really just conversation with them. The camera's between us.
Totally.
Yeah.
And if you can adopt the mindset that you're going to have haters regardless what you do in this life, then I think it helps a little bit. But as long as you're connecting with the people that you actually want to have relationships with, it's totally worth it.
So explain what you mean a little bit about the haters comment. Like,
sure. I did a video on one of my listings. I had an ADU. It's a historic home from 1884 over there in Highlands. And I talked about, the potential rent that you could get on this ADU. It was about $1,800 a month, which is pretty reasonable for where we're at. And then obviously people from outside of Denver or the Highlands, they're like, nobody would ever pay that much for rent.
right.
And then you get into this little bit of combativeness with some of these comments, which is kind of good because you're also sort of practicing objection handling at that time too.
Yeah.
You're saying, what's your experience with like where I'm actually at?
Right.
If you're in Arkansas, like we got a lot to talk about.
Right.
Or not, because I can totally disengage. But it does allow you to sort of practice a little bit with that objection handling when you do get those negative comments. And it also allows you to sort of reflect on what you're putting out there and its engagement.
Yeah.
And then sometimes your people, like your sphere, will hop in and be like,
yeah,
no, I'm backing up my guy.
Right.
Because he's actually right.
Sure. So for people that just they're doing social media, but they are terrified of the camera.
Mm-hmm.
Get someone to help you. Think of it as a conversation and recognize that you're gonna get some comments that are nasty and you're gonna deal with them.
Yeah, it's no different than going on a buyer listing presentation, and you might bomb a few, especially if you're new to it, until you get a rhythm of what's going on.
Yeah.
And then at the end of the day, they're going to decide to work with you or not, and someone's going to either decide to follow you or not.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
What other tips would you give someone that's saying, "Gosh, 2026 has got to be the year that I lean into social media at a higher level"?
I think it depends what your approach is. If you're looking to generate leads, it's a little bit of a different system than I have set up. Because to be honest, I have more posts than I do followers, but my followers are very, very, they're integral to my business. I get referrals from them, and I don't need 1 million followers. I need 1,000 people that are always thinking about me whenever somebody mentions real estate.
Right.
And so it depends how you want to approach it. If you want to go down the route of just getting leads, I think it's going to be more so like the property walkthroughs, the talking about the process, the connections of vendors and things like that. If you want to create a little bit of a tighter knit sphere, then I think for people to just kind of be organic, talk about your lifestyle, have them follow you along throughout the day. Here's what I'm doing. I'm going to the gym this morning. I'm driving to this next appointment.
Right.
I'm doing all these things. I'm going to the dog park. That's a big one.
Yeah.
Especially here down in Denver, probably up by you guys too. And so the approach, I think there's about 2 ones to boil it down to. Don't get too, creative, but if you want to get leads, it's probably a lot more real estate content. if you want to create a really good following base, it's probably a little more lifestyle.
Yeah.
Yep.
Allison's asking, what's the best time for reels in capturing? Like, I think she means length. You mean length of the video, right?
Yeah.
A minute, 30 seconds, 15. Like, what's the best timing?
That's a tough one for me because we want to get a lot of information in a small amount of time. And so some of my reels, you'll see me just rattle it as fast as I can to try to condense it and keep that attention. And so I think it depends what's going on. If you're doing something a little more enticing, that is, here's how this inspection blew everything up because, the house is falling apart or whatever that looks like. I think you can drag that out a little bit longer. But for things like home tours and things like that, you want to go through it pretty quick. Someone's just swiping on Zillow with the photos. So to answer that question, it kind of depends on what you're going to be looking to do. But in my opinion, if you want to condense the information, the things that kill what people, when you get no response on social media is when you have a few seconds of dead space in the beginning of the video. There's a lot of there's a lot of trying to condense your thoughts and on the fly kind of situation.
Right.
And I think I'm pretty good at just sort of doing like one shots here and there kind of situation, which makes it a little easier because I don't necessarily have to prep each time I want to put out some social media content. So to answer your question, shorter is a little better. You can definitely get a lot of information in 15 seconds. And the best way to approach that is to just take out all the fluff. You just want all that information, send it out, in a very concise form for people to consume a little easier.
Yeah. Some of these AI tools, and maybe CapCut's the one I'm thinking of. No, Opus Clips.
Yeah.
Like you take a long video and you send it to Opus Clips and they pull 15 seconds, 30 seconds. And I think the strategy there is really short, but provocative content and then push them back to YouTube for the full video. Is that something you do or?
I haven't yet. I want to start doing it this year. I'm going to start leaning into YouTube more and doing some more long form stuff. Now that I have some people that will actually watch a little bit longer videos of mine, I am going to start getting into that. And I think there's no reason not to take take Opus Clip and just take one of your long form videos and then generate more content from it. And I don't see why not. Even in CapCut, you can have it AI clip your video. And if that's the most efficient way for you to just, if you get stuck at like the editing part and you're like, oh, I don't want to put this out, just let the AI do the work, put it out, get some response, and then work from there.
Yeah. Interesting. Other questions for David? Jeff says Opus Clips has been amazing for us. I love Opus Clips. So when we do these lift sessions, we take this video that we're creating, we upload it to YouTube. Opus Clips automatically gets it. And like in about 6 hours, you're going to see him doing whatever Opus Clips thinks is the best 15 seconds. And then it's going to push it back to our YouTube. I personally like that because I think, Jeff, is that how you all do it too? I think that being on YouTube matters to Google in a big way.
Absolutely.
Jeff, were you going to add something?
Yeah, we use it for our YouTube channel and then take it out, create the short clips and push that out to Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube all. And our views our traffic on YouTube specifically has gone up like crazy in the last 3 to 4 months that we've been using it.
Yeah. I say use those tools. I mean, there's an algorithm out there that is going to see your clip and then say, okay, this is probably going to have some traction. This is probably going to have some traction. Let's make clips of that.
Yeah.
So definitely use those tools, even if it's not an hour-long video. If you just film yourself for 10 minutes and then Opus Clip it, use that.
Yeah.
Upload that.
That's like a $20 tool per month, and it actually will take this landscape-oriented video that we're making right now. It'll make it portrait. It will put the captions in, like it is kind of foolproof. And that's, because I don't know how to do any of that stuff. Someone asked, do you intentionally schedule out your social media month?
Not the month. I'll schedule out a day per week to go do like intentional content, and then I fill it in with stories in between. So I'm always doing just kind of cataloging my day. Other than that, I will have an intentional day throughout the week. Like Thursday this week, I'm going to 3 different listings to do a little bit of that kind of work. And then otherwise, I'm just sort of filling it in with stories because my approach, again, is just sort of that that tight sphere of people that sort of just follow me throughout my day, and as opposed to necessarily pushing out a ton of real estate content.
Are you doing that get ready with me thing where you're brushing your teeth?
No.
Okay.
No.
Making sure. That's in my feed constantly. I think it's because I have 20 something kids.
Yeah.
And like, gosh, I see everybody brushing their teeth. It makes me crazy.
Right.
So yeah.
Yeah, I think if I were to try to schedule out an entire month, I would lose my hair because I'd miss a day. So I just take it 1 week at a time, pick one day to be really intentional about actual real estate content. And then otherwise I'm filling it in with lifestyle stories. Just kind of what I'm doing throughout the day.
Yeah.
Yep.
Any other questions for David?
Yes. Do you use any type of a social media scheduler as well whenever you do that, like Thursday or whatever? Do you go into like the Meta Business and pre-schedule things like that?
I probably should, if I'm being honest, but I think just kind of back to like what I'm doing throughout the day is that I usually don't get a lot of my clips done until kind of the end of the day. And then in the afternoon is when most people are getting off work and watching their social media anyway. So by 6, 7 o'clock at night is when I'm about uploading some of those more intentional real estate videos. So that just kind of aligns well with me as far as like when people are watching it. And that's the other thing. If you really want to dial into when you should be posting and things like that, you have the insights to look into on your social media and Instagram, for example. You can go onto a post and look at the insights, and it'll tell you, okay, I dropped off within the first 5 seconds and everybody scrolled past my video. And that's one of the things that I've changed a lot over the years is sort of what do I make these small tweaks? It's not some huge overhaul of your entire social media approach. They're really little tweaks because you just want to be yourself, but there is a way to change things in order to get people to interact a little bit more, such as taking out the dead space in the beginning of your video.
Right.
Even starting halfway through the first word or whatever that
Yeah.
looks like. So yeah, to answer your question, I don't, but just it kind of organically lines up when most of my people are watching my videos when I sit down at the end of the day to put out some of that content.
So what I just heard him say, and I think you all caught it as well. I muted you, Leslie. What I think is interesting about that is it's not just about posting it. It's about posting it and then looking at the insights and reviewing the video and seeing like, what about this video caused people to leave it early?
Yep.
And then making sure that you improve it next time.
Yeah, it's no different than self-auditing like your buyer seller presentation.
Yeah.
You don't just bomb
Like,
one and then go
fall asleep during the listing appointment.
Yeah, you don't bomb your presentation, then okay, I'm going to do that again.
Right.
You reflect on it, you sort of dissect it and say, okay, how do I adjust this so that I can make this a little bit better for people to consume next time.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you, David, for being here. We appreciate it.
Yeah.
All right. One last thing. A reminder about productivity coaching with Katie. Every Tuesday, it's on Zoom. The Zoom you can get to at kwsummitzoom.com. The password is KWTOTR, and we will see you in 1 week. And I can't remember who's coming, but I already told you, so it should be in your notes. Hope you all have a great rest of the week. See you soon. Take care.